They sold investors a crypto token that was supposed to help power a Bitcoin mining facility in Washington state. There was just one problem. They later admitted that the Bitqyck mining facility didn't exist.
Business looking clean, money coming through. Everybody asking who helped me break through. That tax guru got me thinking bigger now. That tax guru ain't no looking down. From the chaos to the
I'm Tyrone Taylor, enrolled agent. This is case file 026, the crypto founders who sold a Bitcoin mine that didn't exist. And before we get into the tax crime, you need to understand what these two guys were selling. Bise and Samuel Mendez were the co-founders of Bitqyck, a cryptocurrency company based in Dallas. Back in 2016, crypto was attracting people who felt like they had already missed their chance with Bitcoin. And according to the Department of Justice, Bitqyck marketed its cryptocurrency called Bitqyck to people who had missed out on Bitcoin. But this wasn't just a pitch to buy another cryptocurrency. Investors were told something else. Bitqyck published a white paper saying each Bitqyck token included 1/10 of a share of Bitqyck common stock. Think about what that means to an investor. You're not just buying a token, you believe you're getting a piece of the company behind the token. Except Bise and Mendez later admitted that those shares were never distributed to the token holders. And the ownership wasn't embedded in the Ethereum smart contract as represented. In fact, the only Bitcoin common stock actually issued belonged to Bise and Mendez. Together, they owned 100% of it. But the story gets even more interesting. About 9 months after Bitqyck launched, they began promoting another cryptocurrency. This one was called Bitqyck. The token sold for $1, and investors were told their money would help pay electricity costs associated with a Bitqyck mining facility in Washington state. Now, even if you know absolutely nothing about cryptocurrency, the basic idea is easy to understand. Bitcoin mining requires computers. Those computers use a lot of electricity. So if somebody tells you they have a mining operation with access to electricity and you can participate by purchasing a token, you can understand the investment pitch. But according to their plea papers, there was no Bitqyck mining facility in Washington state. Instead, without investors knowing the true arrangements, Bise and Mendez contracted with an overseas third-party company in an attempt to perform the Bitcoin mining they had promised. And by the time all of this was happening, a lot of money had come into Bitqyck. According to the Department of Justice, the company raised approximately $24 million from more than 13,000 investors. Now here is where this becomes a tax story. Because one of the biggest mistakes people can make with cryptocurrency is thinking that somehow the technology changes the basic rules of taxation. It doesn't. You can call something a token. You can call it a coin. You can put it on blockchain. But if the underlying transaction produces taxable income, changing the technology doesn't make the tax obligation disappear. And according to the plea papers, millions of dollars from Bitqyck went to these two founders. From 2016 to 2018, Bruce Bise received approximately $4.68 million. Samuel Mendez received approximately $4.48 million. The Department of Justice says Bitqyck funds were also diverted for personal expenses, including casino trips, cars, luxury home furnishings, artwork, and rent. Now you've got another issue, because when money moves from a business to an owner for personal benefit, you don't get to simply ignore the tax consequences. And according to the government, that's where Bise and Mendez created their federal tax problem. For 2016 and 2017, Bise underreported his income. The resulting federal tax loss attributed to his underreported income was $371,000. Mendez also underreported income for those 2 years. His resulting tax loss was $311,000. But don't just add those two numbers together and think that was the entire tax case. There was another piece. In 2018, Bitqyck failed to file a corporate federal income tax return despite netting more than $3.5 million from investors. When the government calculated the various tax components, the Department of Justice reported a total federal tax loss of more than $3.6 million. And there's an important tax lesson right there. The tax consequences of moving money through a company can exist at more than one level. You can have tax issues involving the individual owners, and you can have separate tax issues involving the business itself. That distinction matters. Here's what the public record does establish about the investigation. Bitqyck was already under regulatory scrutiny before their criminal tax cases were resolved. In 2019, the Securities and Exchange Commission brought a civil enforcement action against Bitqyck, Bise and Mendez involving the company's cryptocurrency offerings in digital asset exchange. That SEC matter is important context, but we need to keep the cases separate. Bise and Mendez did not admit or deny the SEC's allegations when the civil case was settled. Their later criminal cases were different. Those cases involved tax evasion, and both men pled guilty. The criminal investigation was conducted by the Irish Criminal Investigations through its Dallas and Los Angeles field offices. The public record we have does not establish that the SEC handled the case to Irish Criminal Investigations, so I'm not going to tell you that happened. What we do know is that SEC civil action came first. Irish Criminal Investigations conducted the criminal tax investigation, and eventually both founders were facing federal tax evasion charges. Bise pled guilty in September 2021. Mendez pled guilty the following month. Then came the sentencing. Bruce Bise received 50 months in federal prison, and Samuel Mendez received the same. That's 100 months of federal imprisonment between them. The Department of Justice reported a total federal tax loss exceeding $1.6 million, and the sentencing judge imposed joint and several liability of $1.6 million. Now here's my tax guru take. This story sounds complicated because it involves cryptocurrency, an IOC, smart contracts, and Bitcoin mining. But the tax lesson really isn't complicated at all. Follow the money. A new technology doesn't create a new universe where tax laws suddenly stop applying. If you own a business and money comes out of that business for your personal benefit, you need to know how that transaction could be treated and reported. And if your business has a federal filing requirement, you can't simply ignore the business return either. That applies whether your company sells shoes, provides consulting services, or deals in digital assets. Crypto may change how money moves. It does not make taxable income invisible. And that may be the simplest lesson from this entire case. You could put money in a blockchain, you still have to put the income on your tax return. If you enjoy learning about how the tax system actually works through real federal tax crimes, follow that tax guru for more tax crime file stories. Real tax crimes, real court cases, real lessons. That tax guru tax crime file stories.
You finally took a stand. Now the business looking clean, money coming through. Everybody asking who helped me break through. That tax guru got me thinking bigger now. That tax guru ain't no looking down. From the chaos to the confidence, from surviving to accomplishments. Now the whole team leveling up. Yeah, we built this from the ground up. I stopped running from the ride.